So I'm here today to talk about Omaewa, a little bit about what we do in our bit of paradise. So I'm here to talk about Omaewa Whenua. It's not going to work. So Omaewa Whenua is our land block over in Tiki Tiki. It's only a small block. It's 42 hectares. So, why is this mouse not going? Okay, so we'll go without the mouse. Oh, there it is. So yeah, so 180 k's north of Gisborne, and just five minutes north of Tiki, we've got our little land block called Omaewa Whenua. We call it Omaewa Whenua, Māori land call Tiki Tiki A13. There's 36 owners. The land is leased by our whānau trust, and we're also beneficiaries to the block through our father's whānau trust that are shareholders in the land. So kawai mātou. So e te taha tōku māma, ka moia George Ngaro Pō kia Winifred Puna, e te taha tōku pāpa, ka moia te rā nui o te tau Paenga, no te whānau Hinirupe, te whānau Ritikura, te whānau Rua Taupari, kia Bella White, no Tokumaru. Ka puta, ko tōku māma ko Chrissy Paenga, ko tōku pāpa ko te rā nui o te tau Paenga. Ko Bella Paenga wau. My father grew up in Tiki. He, like many of his cousins and across the coast, sort of by 14, 15 was wanting to gap it. Was hard work, sick of cows. He lied to the army and he went to look for excitement like his uncles, like his papas before him. He left, and the five of us, there's five of us, and we were all brought up in army bases across the country. And coming back to the coast was always, for my dad, it was always, there was no stopping. We knew that we were going straight to Tiki. Although my mother was from Wairoa, we would go straight through, head straight back to Tiki. Yeah. So, always knew, always has been a really special place for us. Yeah. And I'm Bella, for those who don't know. I live in Tiki. My husband and my two children, we came home in 2002. 2004, yeah, and we came home to our land. At that time, Tiki was a black hole, black pit. There were no benefits if you were coming from the city, coming home. So we knew that when we were coming home, there were no jobs there for us, that we were going to have to, if we wanted to stay, do things for ourselves. There were no homes. We knew we had to start to do things for ourselves. So just coming back a little bit to the land, my dad's nanny, Ruihana Tikuya Jones, she had tuku whānga Ngātāne. The first family was McNeil's, a Pākehā man, and they had Hana. They shipped her out of here. So Hana married a Christensen, and we've got really exciting whānau there that, although they've never lived here, they don't know the coast, they're really wanting to contribute to our whenua to make sure that it's there in the future, should these whānau want to come back. Second husband with Hekera Horomea, they had 5 children, there were more, but so Mere Hene Hora here, from this whānau come the Rangis, the Potus, Petiperia, from this nanny came the Greens, Kokabuffy, she's comes off that line. Hekera, so that's Dole, Parakura Horomea, that's their whānau. And then, yeah, that was the Horomeas. Waheke Turea, they had Parakura Turea and he died at World War I. Yeah. And then the last husband was my great-grandfather. And so we were the youngest family left on the land. So most of the other whānau had sort of all moved away. And like Melanie said earlier when she was talking, it's been 50 years up until this time that our whānau had been doing anything on our land. So it was a real challenge at that time coming home. So this is Omaewa Whenua. Like I said, it's 42 hectares. Sits at the back of Puke Mairi, goes down in between and up the top of Omaewa. You can see there that's our reserve, Te Tuki o Hukirangi Native Reserve. It's 17 hectares of bush. Melanie said it was fenced in 2015. And we'd been working on it more or less since about 2009, 2010, talking with whānau around how we could get the fence around our reserve. So that's 2.5 km worth of reserve there. Ngā whenua rāhui paid $65,000 for our fence. They also have supported us through Mātauranga Kura Taiao funding, which has been around the education of what it is we want to be doing with our land, with our taonga. And for everything that we're doing with our land, Toi Kairākau's vision is to create a place of connection, restoration and healing for ngā uri o Ruihana Tikuia, me ona whānau, me ona hapu. There again is the block. We've got some long-term goals there. Definitely the restoration of our lands, the increased biodiversity. It's important to us that the story is there for our whānau to access. We've been home 15 plus years now and there's still so much to learn. There's so much whānau we haven't spoken with. There's still a lot together, a lot of information and kōrero to pull together. And that's going to help us with making decisions on our land. So the things that we're doing on the land, they have to meet with what we're wanting to do there. Raising the productivity of the land and providing a return to shareholders. Our boundary fence isn't quite a boundary fence. It doesn't keep the stock out or the stock in. It's still needs a lot of work to be done on that. But we see that that's an opportunity to create jobs and to start to do the work for our whānau, to create opportunities and jobs for them to come home to. And yeah, because if we're to tell the story, we have to be a part of the story. It's our story. So this project and others that Toi Kairākau Whānau Trust support are about building our whānau to be a part of the decision making and to keep telling and building the story. So what are we doing over there on the Whenua? We've got the native reserve. So within that, we're wanting to eliminate, on the front face, we've got really bad, well, privet's the worst of it. The gorse and the blackberry, the gorse is not too bad. We can plant into that. We can do stuff with that. And with some research that we've done a while ago, we found it was also the best place storing the carbon was under the gorse, more than in the gardens, more than under the kānaka, more than down in the wet places. It was under that gorse. So we started to think, well, can't be all bad. And yeah, so looking to create opportunities within the reserve, so upskilling our whānau, being able to take part, contribute, and again that biodiversity and creating that natural habitat within Te Tiki o Hirangi Native Reserve. I've just put these few pictures there. Just a couple of reasons, because I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years before we got the fence up, Graham came, and I've forgotten their names, Graham, but that yellow buttercup was an indication of clean water, of cold water. And up in the big trees were some of Kawakawa's cousins, again, Wariwari o Tingoa. But the reason these plants are at risk is because their environments are not being looked after. The big trees aren't fenced, cows are getting in there, no more big trees. So no more of the whānau able to live again within those areas. And the banded kōkapu and what's happening with the whitebait. So, buzzing to find kōkapu on the whenua, and again, a priority to make sure that we're looking after our waterways, that we protect, providing homes for all our whānau on the whenua. Mahinga kai was a big part for us coming home. Feeding ourselves, there were no jobs. So yeah, feeding ourselves was a big part up on the gardens. And we probably spent, up until about the last 3 or 4 years, with our big gardens up on the hill. That's slightly changed now. We're still growing up there, but the plant has changed. So we've got that 500 hectare plot up on the hill. They've got 12 students on the hemp course. They've sectioned down the area so that each student has their own plot. We teach them what that means around the regulations and the legislations, the rules that we need to be working by to be growing a legal crop. Everyone's buzzing to be able to grow a bit of cannabis. So yeah, really important for us to make sure we're teaching our whānau and keeping them safe. And so, yeah. We've applied for an extension to the licence, so that 500 metres is up on top of the hill. That was pretty easy to get a licence up there. No one else goes up there. You've got to go through 3 gates through a 17 hectare native reserve, so that's all been pretty sweet with the MOH. But we're looking at coming down onto the flats just off the main road. There's some power there. We could be looking at getting a couple of containers or some indoor growing things going on there. We'd like to be doing more through the winter months for the course, because come winter we're going to have problems getting up to the top of the hill for that hemp plot. So we're looking at developing something down there. The other thing we do is we make vermica solution. My cousin, the Christensen, the first whānau, he's been making, his company is called BioLiquid Development. He's been making vermiculture solution for the past 25 years in Bay of Plenty, and he supplies organic gardeners over there. So this was his koha to us coming home, was he sent us all these beautiful, amazing worms. And this is what we do for a lot of things, feed our kai, feed our whenua. But we've been doing some trials too with the gorse. So we've been, my husband will clear it and turn it and then apply the liquid vermicast out on it, and it's done pretty good. Stopped things coming back where we didn't want them coming back. The grass is growing really good there, so this is how we apply. He's going to say. What's the sound? Oh, you can't hear it. The sound's the best part. But yeah, we've got about, 8 or so farms. They're a metre by a metre. We make that into a liquid vermicast. We feed that out to the whenua, to the trees. We make our own potting mix. What else do we do with that? We've got horses. That's what we feed our worms, our horses, and that's just the cycle that we use. So this is just my last slide, and it's really just about whatever we're making on, we're growing, we're producing on Omaewa whenua, that always it's important to us that we're building a place of connection, restoration and healing for ngā uri o Ruihana Tikuia me ona whānau hapu. And that's about me for Omaewa whenua. I'm just going to share a little bit with you about my mahi hau. So I've been contracted to Te Reo Waiapu as a whenua development support person. It comes from TPK, from the Whenua Development Fund. And I've been working for the hapu for about 3 months now. Some of the things, just on that sort of, we realised from the start building the reserve that it wasn't so easy to get the money, filling out the applications, going through the steps, getting the people onto the land that we needed to be talking with. And over the last couple of years, we've also been working with some of our neighbours. So we're supporting Kaiwaka Marae to reserve the native bush behind the marae. There's 3 land blocks there, so that's a challenge, but all 3 are ready to do it. There's springs out there that feed our marae, that feed the homes, and they're all ready now to do that. They've seen that it didn't cost the Paengas and the Stevensons anything but their time and the energy. So it's real cool to have our whānau in that space and ready to do some of that stuff. So there's Kaiwaka Marae doing that, putanga. Murray was here earlier. We've been talking with putanga around their native reserve. They're firewood reserves, but the pā don't need the firewood anymore. They got the power. And they're not actually being reserved. They're not being fenced. They're not being looked after. So that's putanga and Rahui Marae's firewood reserves are now on ngā whenua Rahui getting ready to go to the board. And Kaiwaka Marae, we've got 1 land block next door, Hiramu, with their forestry that we're still working through, getting them across the line. So that's real cool stuff. Also within the hapu is wanting to look at wetlands as well. So The hapu are wanting to see increased sustainable community development by mobilising kaitiakitanga in action across the Waiapu. So I'm charged with, got some jobs there. One of mine is organising workshops for this. So we had a wax wrap workshop, the kānuka propagation, any of the kānuka workshops that I'm involved with through that mahi. We encourage the hapu to attend. We've got a couple of soap wānanga workshops coming up end of the month. December, we've got a hemp cannabis wānanga. Around us, we've got around my plot, there's 3 other licences. Hoana Mirirangi's dad's got a licence out at Rangitukia. There's another one coming out there as well. So there's a big interest around Tiki and Rangitukia around what's happening with that. And the other one is just starting to have some hui with our whānau with each other around the wetland, around wetlands. So I'd love to talk a bit more with GDC and our ladies that spoke earlier. I know that's the sort of stuff for this that we need to be doing. The hapu also want to have a database of Waiapu land blocks with specific details of those blocks. So we're mindful in the Waiapu how a lot of our Māori-owned blocks don't have any gut management structures over them, and part of that is my work is to identify those blocks and to create databases and look at how we can start to engage with those blocks to move them to a stage where they can be making decisions and doing a bit more for their land. This stuff, I'm sort of new at this story map stuff, but I think it's important. It's a way of us being able to tell our stories. It's how we can be collecting all that information and that data, and so I've just been learning this, so I can see that if this was more interactive when I'm talking with the hapu, with the trustees or with the whānau, that if they can see something, Nani might be a bit, that if they can see it, they'll get more engaged. So that's something else through this work that we're doing, is looking at doing some mapping support for our landowners, helping them to make some decisions. So the hapu want to also get within the database some recordings of the icons, so that the church, could be the kōrero around the church, could be kōrero around Te Reo, could be kōrero around the tuna, about the kōkupu. They want to start to collect this information and start to be able to make better decisions with what we've been doing. Yeah, so the wetlands, and of course the river project is another one in the Waiapu where the hapu are really trying to get some momentum. There's been a lot of kōrero, there's been a lot of support. I mean, even some bad kōrero is not so, if it's going to engage our whānau to get some real discussion happening. So that's what the river project has been doing a little bit at home lately. And it's been good to be able to build on that and also look at the wetlands. One of the areas that's really important is just behind Rahui, behind the Urupa, there's a wetland. It's, we drained it and we made it a sports ground. We put a rugby club on there and planted willows all around it, but it's actually a wetlands, and it's just above the Urupa as well as behind the town, so it gets a lot of gunk and crap, and then all the trustees that are on that block have all passed on, so it's given a lot of momentum around doing things in the Waiapu, and that's really exciting. Having these kōrero and our tama that was here today, that's so encouraging with what's been going on, to see that the future's going to be have a lot more energy from there. And I think that's just the last part of my job, is just maintaining the relationships that the hapu already have, key relationships with the GDC, MPI, landowners, with our neighbouring hapu, with the iwi, to start to build on that, providing our whānau with education and information, access to funding applications, just all that kind of support. And just the last part for me is this is part of really just the ongoing building on those relationships. We've got Tina coming into Rangitokia once every 6 weeks with the students. We've got 2 of those students living out there. We can really start to upskill our people and get those skills out a bit more. Yeah, but pretty much that's about me, I think. So this was part of a report, and I've just been adding to it, sort of back to the trustees, and I've just been sort of adding to it to sort of guide me with what am I. So a land development and sustainable land use strategy in Te Rū o Waiapu. Whoa. We were talking earlier about talking to ourselves as whānau on our whenua. And yeah, if we're doing that a lot more easily, a lot more freely, then we can move into these stages and start to get some bigger connectivity. Yeah, that looks like it from me.
Kia ora, thank you, Bella. Mo e rā kōrero, ngā no te tāhua. Te kite atu i ngā mahi kai runga i te whenua, te whānau ko hoki mai, te whakamahana i te whānau, i te whenua, te whakakotahitanga i ngā whenua, ki te whakapapa hoki. Nā reira, ka mihi kia koutou, te whānau, i runga i te rā.